Okay, so welcome to our abbreviated orientation session for Southern Cross in Melbourne. Usually we have a full day on day one and then half a day on day two for orientation. We had those on Monday and Tuesday, but this time, because you are students here and also watching this recording later, you were enrolled late, so you missed out on that information. Now, I have sent you versions of the PowerPoint that I'm using today in your student email. I've also sent you a link to a short video I made about your professional experience if you weren't able to attend that session today. And also I sent you my assessment workshop program. So you would have received an email in your student email today, Friday, the 23rd, providing all the information. So just to remind you that you have academic support. So my job is to help you out with your academic work. Your tutor in your face-to-face classes or your online classes will be available to help you as well. So the tutor will be able to answer questions about your unit material. So my name is Jo Taylor. I can help develop your academic skills. I can help with assignment writing, and I will be running workshops. Sorry, that should be week 1 to 5, not 1 to 6. I'll be running online workshops on Thursdays. You received the schedule in your email today, your student email. They're run from 11 to 11:30 on a Thursday. So Melbourne Student Support is the primary email to use. I can be contacted through that email address. Also, I have my own SCU email address. You can email me directly. Either way is fine. So usually the first part of orientation is talking about the Southern Cross model. So please read through all that information that was sent to you in your orientation pack. I'll talk a little bit more about that later, but what we first of all will talk about is academic integrity. So I run a compulsory session in orientation on academic integrity because each term a number of students get into trouble for academic misconduct. So some students don't mean to cheat, but they end up breaking the rules. But ignorance of the rules is not a valid excuse for doing something wrong. So I'm now going to talk a little bit about rules of academic writing. I know the students joining today have all done a degree already. Most likely you've already done a degree in Australia. So you will know this material pretty well. I won't take a lot of time going through details, but if you have any questions, you can ask me. So in Southern Cross University's view, academic integrity means behaving with the values of honesty, fairness, and respect in an academic setting. The main place students practice academic integrity is assignments and exams. You do this by submitting your own work for assessments. The main type of cheating is plagiarism. This can be copying from another student, having someone else do part or all of your assessment, buying an assessment from a professional writer or an online service, using artificial intelligence such as ChatGPT or paraphrasing tools inappropriately, file sharing, including exams and assignment questions and answers uploaded or downloaded through a third-party platform, copying and pasting from any source, including a website, quoting a source word for word, but don't put it in quotation marks and or don't reference the source, putting a source's ideas into your own words, but do not reference the source. So all these things, all these types of activities are considered under the umbrella of academic misconduct. If you are given an allegation of academic misconduct and that is found to be confirmed, you might receive a range of penalties such as a caution, a warning with no penalty, a chance to rewrite the assignment for 50% of the mark, a deduction of marks, you might lose marks, 20 or 50%, 0 for the assessment. You might fail the unit if it's very serious. If this happens multiple times, the student could be expelled from the university. So the key question is, how can I avoid plagiarism? The answer is follow the rules of scholarship by referencing your sources. And I will be running workshops on referencing as well, and I can help you with that as time goes on. And your tutors can help you too. You're not expected to use your own ideas to answer questions, but you are expected to do research and then reference the sources where you found the answers. So Harvard referencing is typically used in business and IT units. and education, and some business use APA 7th. Yeah, so Harvard is common in business and IT, as I said, but now you're going to be using APA 7th for education. It is very similar to Harvard. There's just some punctuation and a bit of formatting differences. So it won't be difficult. If you come from Harvard, you can move to APA quite easily. As you know, academic assignments need 2 types of referencing: in-text referencing for every source you use. Every time you use an idea or a direct quote from some source that you've referenced, you need to provide a citation in the text. That citation needs to match up with the reference list at the end. You need a list of references citing all sources you used. You don't have anything in the reference list that you didn't cite in text, and everything you cite in text needs to be provided in the references. Okay, so Southern Cross University Library has library guides for referencing. You don't have to read long documents. You can just go to the site. This is the Harvard one, but the APA one looks just the same. You can look down on the left-hand side and you can see all the different sources available. It's actually, this is outdated, this screenshot. There are now many more different options for you. So you go to the library guides in the SCU library and you can find what type of resource you're using, and it will tell you exactly how to reference it. You can also watch a video there, and also there's EndNote down the bottom. If you've done perhaps a master's or an honours thesis, you've probably used EndNote. So Turnitin, I'm sure you're familiar with. It's text matching software that matches your submission against all the resources all over the world, going back decades. Anything online is matched with your submission. This gives you and your tutor a percentage of matched text and highlights the matched text in different colors, depending on the source. So you will have an opportunity in most units, you have an opportunity to submit your work before the final submission and check the text matching. Here is an example where the student has not paraphrased sufficiently. So this is one way that a tutor might pick up plagiarism and report it as a suspected misconduct. So in this case, this person has a long paragraph, almost the full sentences. In some cases, full sentences is copied word for word from a source. So this is not acceptable. Here it's not quite so serious, but there are also long strings of text, several words at a time, which are showing up as being identical to a source, in which case this person just needs to take a bit more care with paraphrasing. And I can help you with that. I will be running a workshop on paraphrasing. I think it's week 3. So it's a big temptation to use cheat sites in university. You're under a lot of pressure. Some of you might be working full-time and you're trying to study full-time at the same time, because this is a full-time study load. Even though it's only 2 units, you only have 6 weeks to do all the work. So it's like a 12-week term squashed into 6 weeks. So you have twice as much work to do in half as much time. So it's a big temptation to try and cut corners, but this is definitely not acceptable. You might be targeted by a cheat site and offered deals which look great, but there's always a catch. Sometimes cheat sites, once they have your information, they might try to blackmail you and ask for more money than what you've paid. In other cases, the assignment might fail. It's quite likely it will, because assessment is written specifically for your unit, for your content you're being taught, and somebody who is writing it externally is writing your assessment. It doesn't know what the requirements are, so it's likely that the assignment will fail. We make sure that the students who get their degrees and their diplomas are genuine. This is how we do it to keep the quality of our degrees high. So you'll see some posters around campus like this. If you use cheating sites, you could fail your subject or course, you could lose your visa, you could, well, if it's a student visa, you could lose your professional accreditation, and you could be blackmailed, as I mentioned. The Tertiary Education Quality and Standards Agency takes a very serious view of these services, and they are actually fraudulent. They are breaking the law. So they might offer to sell essays or assignments to you, or ask you to sell your work, your previous work. might try to sell you study notes or exams, and they might offer to sit exams. You can report them if they try to target you in this way. So you might find an email or social media or campus poster, not on our campus, I hope, but you might find ads somewhere targeting students. Now, they might know you're a student by looking at your student email. If you sign up to something like online service with your student email, that might result in you being targeted. So more types of cheating: copying from another student. I had a case recently where one student had done the work very carefully, and his classmate said to him, "What I have in my last dot point, I just want to see what you've written so I know what to do." The student shared his work with his friend, and both of them got in trouble for academic misconduct. So don't lend your laptop to another student. Don't let other students read your assessment work. Don't email your work to another student. Don't leave your laptop unattended. And if someone asks you, "I just want to see what you've written so I know what to do," just say, "No, I'm not allowed to do that." Every unit provides examples. They provide examples of work. They provide detailed instructions of what to do. So you really, if somebody asks you that, I think they're just being a bit lazy and not reading the instructions, because the instructions provided are very, very detailed in your unit. So you have a lot of instructions and examples provided. So sham referencing, this is making up a source and pretending that you did a lot of research, or writing down a real reference but not actually reading it and just hoping the tutor won't check. Actually, this has happened recently. A student was reported for this, where they had used a fake reference and had inserted a quote, and of course the quote didn't exist anywhere, and the reference was fake. It was a real journal, but it was wrong article. So that student got a penalty, an academic penalty. So sham referencing is immediately reported and identified and reported, and typically results in a fail for the assessment task because you haven't done it correctly. Now, after all that scary stuff, if you do receive an allegation notice, read it carefully and you can respond in a link in the email. You will have 5 days working days to respond, which is equivalent to 1 week. And you can give your account of what happened. So before you respond, we recommend you contact me, the learning advisor. My job is to support you as a student. So before you respond, you can contact me and I can talk to you about what the allegation means. I can remind you to respond formally. I can remind you to respond using clear language. I can talk through the allegation with you, and I can also proofread examples of your response if you would like me to do that and help you. A message will appear when you first log into my SCU. So my SCU is the platform I'm going to talk about in a moment. You need to complete the module as soon as possible. It takes about 1 to 1.5 hours to do, although I've had students who've done it in less than 1 hour. And you need to score 90% in the quiz at the end. And I'll talk you through that when I finish this session today. Okay, so that is what I usually talk about on the first day. I've gone through that very quickly in less than half an hour. Normally I go through that a bit more slowly and I have more examples. So I've sent you the PowerPoint in a PDF form. This PowerPoint, it has a lot more pages in it for you to read through. Those are just examples of referencing, but just be warned, most of the examples in that PowerPoint are Harvard style, whereas you will be using APA as an education student. So now I'm going to talk about navigating my SCU and Blackboard, understanding and planning assessment tasks, and then I'll give you a bit more detail about the academic integrity module. I'll also be able to share with you, if you haven't had access to your units yet, I can show you what they look like. On the first day of orientation, this is what we typically do, and this is all these documents are now in your email. There's an email with about 8 attachments. That is all this information, your orientation pack. So since you weren't able to attend the day 1 session because of late enrollment, please read all that information carefully. If you have any questions, please contact Melbourne Student Support or myself to help clarify that. So the information talks about the Southern Cross model course structure, and it provides a calendar of when the terms are. You also would have received your study plan, including the units you are enrolled in and the term key dates. Also, that information tells you when and where your tutorials will be conducted and your tutors' names. Now, you will have 2 tutors. The face-to-face classes that you can attend will be on Tuesdays, and you have tutors' names in your timetable. Now, I've just got it in front of me here. Play and Pedagogies and Early Childhood Education runs from 9 till 11 a.m, and that's with Coco. And then the other unit you have is Early Childhood Matters, runs from 1:30 to 3:30, and that's with Cheryl. Those 2 tutors will be taking the face-to-face classes. They'll run for 2 hours. They will also run an evening online class for you, and you access that through Blackboard, and I'll show you where to find that in a moment. So if you aren't able to attend face-to-face, you can attend an online tutorial with the same tutor. So Coco will run the Play and Pedagogies tutorial, and Cheryl will run the Early Childhood Matters tutorial. Online tutorials will be recorded, so you can watch the recording if you miss a class. Highly recommended that you attend either in person or online, because the course content is very dense. If you've come from another background other than education, there's a lot to learn. It's a steep learning curve. So please pay attention to the tutorial time. Attend in person if you can. Attend online if you can't attend in person. And as a last resort, watch the recording. The workshop is 1 hour. That's recorded. It's also run online live, but you can watch the recording of the workshop. The workshop is like a lecture. So it's essentially the lecture content, and the workshop is mostly about assessment. So the workshop will focus on the assessment, whereas the tutorial will focus on the content, the material that you're learning. Today, we will be looking at my SCU. So hopefully you will have your username and password already, and you will know how to log in. You'll have applied for a USI or have given your USI to our Melbourne Student Support Team if you already have one. You've been told, hopefully, how to update your information on My Enrolment. That's very important when we get to talk about your professional experience, your placement, your address, and your contact, your phone number. Everything has to be up to date in My Enrolment. Otherwise, you can't be placed in a suitable placement. So that needs to be done as soon as possible to make sure those details are absolutely correct. Okay, so what systems do we have here? Office 365 is free for use with your student email as a login. And we highly recommend you set up the Outlook app, the Outlook and the Microsoft Authenticator app on your phone. You'll need it if you're using email on any devices other than your own personal device. So Microsoft Office, all the apps you can download to your computer or to your phone or both, but please set up Outlook, especially for your student email. All your email will be sent to your student email address. After this week, we will not be using your personal email address. It's only for initial contact before enrolment. So here we have technology services, and I'll show you in a moment where you can find this dashboard. But technology services has all these resources for you, including access to the Office 365 subscription. So when you log in, you go to the current students page from Southern Cross University, go to the current students page and click on that, and then you'll see this dashboard. So you'll see on here we have technology services down there in the right hand, almost to the right hand at the bottom. Once you click on that, you'll get technology services, and you can also do live chat. You can email a query if something's not working, or you can phone them. So technology services are very good and very quick at getting problems resolved. My SCU is what we're going to now. But once you click on My SCU, you'll get a page like this. So down on the left-hand side, you'll see here Learning Sites. That's where your units will appear. The next one is Information Sites. That's where the Professional Experience Student Centre is. So that's on the second one. When I sent you the PowerPoint in your email today, I sent you a link to an instructional video I made. It's about 5 minutes long, and it explains to you how to access the professional experience page and how to find information about your placement. I think you might, if you've attended the session this morning, you got some information, but this morning's session was a lot of talking and not a lot of demonstration. So I've made a demonstration video for you to help you find that information out. That's the first step. Once you get into your unit, of course, this is a business unit, it's not an education unit, but when you first log in, your platform will look like this. This is called Blackboard. This is the online learning platform, and it's what we use for all our units. So it looks the same for each unit pretty much. So you can see there announcements. So very key to look at the announcements, check those, that information. Any new information comes up there. Getting started. If you haven't used Blackboard before, or you haven't used a learning management system before, it's a good idea to go there, and there's some good advice on how to access it and how to use it. Very important, go to contacts, and that gives you information about the teaching staff and class timetables. Once I've gone through this content, I will go to your site and I'll show you how that looks in real time. But at the moment, I'll just give you the information, and then we'll go and have a look at one of your sites. Okay, study resources. There's the unit outline is the basic curriculum. It has the learning outcomes, the weekly topics, the assessment, and the workload expectations. It's just a basic PDF. The unit content gives you your weekly modules. So you'll only have 3 contact hours per week, 1 workshop and 1 2-hour tutorial. Workshop is around 1 hour, sometimes 1.5 hours. Outside that time, you need to do, for every hour of contact, at least 2 to 3 hours of extra work just to keep up with the material. So that is in your modules, your weekly modules. There will be an introduction module, which you should read today as soon as you get access, and then 1 per week for the next 6 weeks. Those will take you a few hours to work through each week. And you should complete those activities before your tutorial in the week, so you know the content, so that you can discuss it with, and you can answer questions, and you can clarify anything you don't understand. Discussion board. I know that the education units use the discussion board quite widely. So there's discussions there about assessment, about anything to do with the content. You can post your questions there. Collaborate Ultra is where your online workshops, classrooms, and recordings will appear. I'll talk about assessment in a moment, but under assessment, you can also find the academic integrity module, and I encourage you to do that today when we finish this session. There are 6 sub-modules. One will only appear when you complete the previous one. So there's 6 sub-modules. After each one, you have to answer 2 or 3 questions. And then at the end, you have the quiz. You have to achieve 90%. But if you don't achieve 90%, you can repeat it over and over again until you receive a 90%. So assessment, very important. You find the assessment tasks and submission under the assessment menu. There's detailed instructions and marking guides for each assessment task. There's also information about special consideration. Special consideration is required for any extensions. You cannot get extensions from your tutor. Your tutor cannot issue an extension. You need to go through the main campus special consideration team. Your grades and feedback appear here, and the academic integrity module, as I said. If you're interested in finding out about SCU assessment policies and procedures, you can use that link at the bottom there. There are lots of different types of assessment at SCU. In education, you'll be mainly getting written assignments, essays, reports, case studies, reflections, presentations, literature reviews, also portfolios of your work. You probably won't get a quiz or an exam, but if you do, it will be online. So begin every assessment by analysing the instructions. As I said earlier, there are very detailed instructions available for every piece of assessment. Make sure you read it carefully and think about the skills you need. If you don't think you understand it correctly, information about assessment types and how to develop your academic skills can be found on the Student Learning Zone, which is, I'll show you in a moment where to find that, and also in my assessment workshops every week. Every assessment has a set of marking criteria. So this is a rubric, and the marking criteria tells you how many marks each criterion is worth and tells you what to do under each one. So very important to read that and keep it next to you while you're doing your assignment. On the handout for today, which I sent in your email, we have a term planner. Yours will be blank. It's just a blank page. And this is just a way to help you get organized with your 6-week unit content. So we highly recommend you do a term planner. Allocate around 20 hours per week of independent study in addition to your class time. Fill out the term planner, write your assessment due dates in there, and work backwards from the assessment due date. Work out how you will plan your assessment and what needs to be done. So read, analyze, and brainstorm the assessment task early so you know what is required, and map out a plan for working on the assignment. Make sure you allow time to review and edit, and, for example, upload a draft to turn it in. This is available as a Word document on that link, the Student Learning Zone, if you want to make up your own version or if you want to put it in a different format. When you submit your assignment, you can usually submit it a few days before to check originality. Check the file name and format align with submission instructions. So you will have instructions there as to what to name your file and how to format it. Make sure you follow those instructions. Confirm you've picked the right file. You haven't just submitted a draft or an empty file. Make sure it's the correct one. And make sure your submission is successful. And you can download a digital receipt to make sure that it has been submitted successfully. So here under Learning Help, and I'll show you in a moment what that looks like, and we'll go through it. Learning Support is it's called, and that takes you to the Student Learning Zone. And you can see there are workshops and quick guides and videos there to help you under the Student Learning Zone. You can also find access to the library, and the library there you can see there's places you can search for references and also referencing guides. So here's the information about where you can find help and support. My office room is 108. It's at the back of the student support desk, behind the student support desk area. That's my email address. Contact your tutors for clarification of unit content and assessment tasks, and the Student Learning Zone also for any information about study tips, tips for taking notes, tips for organising your time. All sorts of academic help is provided in the Student Learning Zone. The assessment workshops run from 11 to 11:30, just 30 minutes a week on a Thursday, and they'll be online via Zoom, and you have received the link in your email. The link is also available on the Facebook and Instagram pages. And so next week I'll be focusing on analysing assignment instructions and so forth. So you can see the topics there. So each week find out whether work out whether you might need this information and attend the workshop. If you can't attend it, but you would like access to it, you can do one of two things. You can email me and ask me to record it and send you the recording, or you can ask me to run an additional session. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you your learning site. So here is what My SCU will look like once you log in. So you log in current students down the bottom, current students, scroll down, and you will see this platform. Click on My SCU, and that will take you to the page that I just showed you, this page here, My SCU homepage. Down here on the left, as I said before, there's learning sites, information sites here. So learning sites, let's have a look. What's there? Curriculum studies in early childhood is not your unit. For those intake students, this intake, you will only see these two: early childhood matters, play and pedagogies in early childhood education. So early childhood matters, click on that. If you have your computer open now, have a try, have a look and see what's there. Go to contacts, and here we have the contacts for your unit. So Kelly here is the unit assessor. Now the unit assessor is the lecturer. The unit assessor is in charge of all the assessment work and all the running of the unit across the country. So there are multiple campuses where this course is being run. So Kelly is in charge of everybody across the country. If you scroll down here, you'll find down the bottom here, Cheryl Nelson. Cheryl is your teacher here on campus at Melbourne. So she will be running the face-to-face classes, as it says here, face-to-face Tuesdays 1:30 to 3:30, or online via Collaborate Thursday evenings. To find that information, we go back to the menu on the left, Connecting, Collaborate Ultra. Down the bottom here, Tutorial Sydney and Melbourne with Cheryl. So Cheryl is running the online class 6 till 8 p.m. starting next week on the 29th, Thursday evening. And you click on that and join that room when it becomes available. To watch the recording, go to the 3 bars here, recordings. So that will be where the recordings will appear for your tutorial. The workshops are for everybody. So the workshops run every Monday at 2 o'clock. However, if you can't attend, those are recorded as well. So the 2 things you need to find here is the workshop is for everybody, and the tutorial Sydney and Melbourne with Cheryl. Unit outline, as I said, you can view online. This gives you just the overview of the unit. Unit content, this will give you your orientation. You should go through that this week. Module 1 is for next week's content. So let's have a look at Module 1. So Module 1, overview, purpose, introduction, lots of information there, and there's an activity here for you to work through. There's likely to be readings. There's a reading there for you to read from the conversation, another activity. There's information about your assessment task 1, and there's likely to be more readings down here as well. Okay, so all of that, I won't go through it step by step, of course, that's up to you, but please go through that material this week before your class. Discussion board, as I mentioned before, this is where you can talk to other students about the content, any questions you have. So let's have a look. Say hello, introduce yourself, general discussion for task 1, assignment 1, questions for task 2. Grades and feedback, that's where you find your grades and feedback, of course, that's obvious. Academic integrity module is there. Please do that this week. And learning support. So let's just have a quick look at learning support. This is the learning zone. So down here you can see there are quick guides, there are videos, you can learn about numeracy, there's information about academic integrity there, information about how to use Turnitin, our SCU up-to-date policies on use of Gen AI tools, of ChatGPT and other Gen AI tools, and the study hub where there's learning modules you can work through, little modules where you can practice your understanding and see how well you know the content. The library, so here, APA 7th, so this is of course the homepage of the library. If you want to search library for resources, I'm running a skills session, academic skills session and assessment session in week 2, teaching you about some tricks and some techniques for making your library searches more efficient. You're going to have to search for academic references to do your assessment, so I can help you target your what you need for your assessment. Here again, the APA 7th, as I mentioned earlier, anything you might use for your assessment, you can find that here. So you can say, well, I'm looking at a government report. How do I reference it? Organizational reports, in-text example, reference list example here tells you step by step exactly how to use that reference. If you go to Blackboard Tools, you can also find some useful tools to use. That one that just popped up, Text Aid, with the little speaker, that is where you can hear an audio version of written work. And as I said, announcements are crucial. So here's a good announcement explaining where to start and giving you the basic information about your unit. I'm going to stop there and leave it open for questions. So if the students who are watching this video later have any questions, they can email me. Okay, so I'm ending the recording now.